Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to talk about something pretty radical, an idea about wealth that basically flips the script on everything you've ever heard about hustle culture and grinding it out. What if the key isn't about working harder at all, but about figuring out who you really are? All right, so let's just jump right in with a big question that kind of gets to the heart of it, right? We're all told, work hard and you'll get rich. But, look around. If that were the simple truth, wouldn't a lot more hardworking people be a lot better off? This massive disconnect tells us there's got to be something else going on, another piece to this puzzle. And that brings us to our first big idea, the power of the mind. To really get this, we're going to look at a pretty incredible story about someone who faced huge physical challenges and found his power not by pushing harder, but by completely shifting his mindset. It's a total counter-narrative. So meet Dr. Yugatchuku. His story starts with a really tough hand dealt to him. He was born with polio, and right from the get-go, everyone just saw him as the boy with the bad leg. It was this label, this physical limitation that could have easily just become his whole story. But then, in one of those moments that just changes everything, his mother said something to him, something that completely reframed his reality. She told him, what happened to your leg did not happen to your brain. Wow. Think about that. She completely refused to let his body define his potential. She pointed him toward the one thing that was limitless, his mind. This simple idea led him to this brilliant analogy. He thought about a brand new car. It rolls off the line with a spare tire, right? It's built in, just in case something goes wrong. And he thought, well, if we humans can plan for failure like that, doesn't it make sense that a higher power, God, would have built us with our own spare parts? Not physical ones, but mental and spiritual backups, ready to go whenever we face a challenge. And just like that, his whole self-image flipped. He stopped seeing himself as someone with a disability. Instead, he saw himself as a symbol of strength. His challenge wasn't a curse, it was actually a test, a way to prove to the world that even if your body fails you, the power of your mind, your brain, that's where your true strength lies. It's an incredible shift. Okay, so that powerful story leads us right into our next section, the identity revelation. And this is so crucial. It's all about understanding the massive difference between who you are versus where you are. Your power doesn't come from your current situation, it comes from your core identity. This housemaid analogy just nails the concept perfectly. Picture this. A young girl works in a huge house for years. She's treated like a maid. She thinks she's a maid. She is a maid in her own mind. Then one day, a lawyer shows up with a will. And it turns out, she's the heir. She owns the entire estate. Now get this. In that 1 second, nothing physically changed. She's standing in the same room, in the same house. But her awareness of who she is, that changed everything. She's not a servant anymore. She's the owner. And you better believe she's going to start acting like it. And that brings us to a whole new way of thinking about identity. See, it's not your job. It's not your bank balance. Identity is that lightning bolt moment, that moment you become conscious of the real power source inside of you. That's where you stop acting like the maid in your own life and start acting like the owner. Let's push this even further with a question. Is a manger a palace? Of course not, right? It's just a barn. But hold on. What actually makes a place a palace? It's not the fancy walls or the gold trim. It's the presence of the king. Your circumstances, your manger, don't define your reality. Your identity, the king within, is what makes it a palace. All right, which leads us perfectly into section 3, attracting, not chasing. Because once you get this whole identity thing, your entire strategy for wealth has to change. You stop chasing after money and you start attracting it by getting in sync with some pretty powerful laws. And the first law, maybe the most important one, is the law of awareness. It's really simple. You can't want what you don't know exists. Think about it. If your mind is constantly tuned to the frequency of lack, of struggle, of not enough, you can't even begin to truly desire abundance, let alone create it. Your awareness sets the ceiling. Now, this is where so many people get tripped up. They get stuck on belief. They say, I believe I can be wealthy. And that's fine, it's a starting point. But believing you can fly a plane is totally useless if you never go to aviation school. Belief is the spark, but it's knowledge that actually turns the engine on and makes it work. And that's the mistake, isn't it? So many of us try to go straight from belief to action. We believe we can do it, so we just jump in. but that's a one-way ticket to crashing and burning. The real path, the one that works, goes from belief to seeking knowledge, and only then to taking smart, informed action. You don't just hope for the best in the cockpit, you learn how to fly first. So this idea of awareness actually has 3 levels. Level 1 is pretty common. You're aware that there's some kind of higher power out there, a god, the universe, whatever you call it. Okay. But level 2, that's the big jump. That's when you realize that power isn't just out there, it's in you. You are that creator. And then there's level 3, the most powerful of all. It's realizing that the person next to you, even when they're not acting like it, they have that same creative spark inside them too. Okay, so how do we make all this, well, actionable, especially for leaders? That's what this next section is all about, the Man of Faith playbook. This isn't just about tweaking things. This is a guide for a total, fundamental shift in your results and your impact. The source material makes a really interesting point here. It says that the people who built incredible, lasting, generational wealth, they weren't just men of God. That implies a passive thing. No, they were men of faith. And what's the difference? It's everything. A man of God talks about what God is saying. They're a commentator. They're in the announcer's booth, describing the game. But a man of faith? They're on the field. They do what God is saying. They take the principles and they build something with them. One is a reporter, the other is a creator. This creator mindset also works from a place of empathy, not sympathy. And there's a huge difference. A poverty mindset uses sympathy. It sees someone's trouble and just feels bad for them, maybe gives them a handout that keeps them right where they are. But a wealth mindset, it uses empathy. It sees someone's potential, not just their problem, and helps them realize that power within themselves. It's about building people up, not just propping them up. And this really is the ultimate lesson for any leader out there. Chasing money is a trap. It's a game you can't win. Real freedom, the kind that lasts, doesn't come from just stacking up cash. It comes from understanding how things actually work, the underlying laws of creation, of value, and of your own true identity. So it all boils down to this one question, a question you have to ask yourself. Are you a person just trying to survive, or are you a god trying to create? Because your answer to that, well, that's what determines whether you spend your whole life reacting to what happens to you, or if you finally step up and start creating the world you want to live in.